Welcome back to the Adelaide Property Pod, a series of conversations with people shaping South Australia's property landscape. Today's guest is someone many South Australians will know from his AFL career as a former Port Adelaide great. But since retiring from football, he's built a successful career in finance and business. Today we'll cover topics such as life after elite sport, interest rates, and the federal budget announcements and what they could mean for the property sector. Dom, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks so much for joining me.
Great to be here, mate. Thank you.
Let's split your life into two halves for a second. Let's talk Dom the footy player and then Dom the businessman.
Yeah.
Don't want to segregate into, you're a pretty good bloke outside of that, but we'll start there. So AFL career, outstanding career with Port Adelaide, 229 AFL games, 4 of those years as Port Adelaide's captain, which all culminated in the ultimate goal of the 2004 premiership. That would have to be the standout in your mind in your playing career?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the childhood dream, isn't it? So, and 21, I think I was when we won that as well. So it was a lot to take in at a young age, but by far the absolute highlight.
How's the week leading up to it, 21? I mean, I played in a Sandford Grand Final at that age, which was pretty awesome, but I can't even imagine the comparison stepping up to an AFL granny at 21. What's the lead up? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you all of the things above? What does it feel like?
Well, it was. I just remember it being really surreal. It didn't really feel real until I was rooming with Kane Corns at that particular stage of my career, which was hard enough. Grand final. But the week was very surreal because we came off a very close win against St Kilda, the prelim, and we choked a few years before. So it was a massive sense of relief. So we just made sure we enjoyed the week, and Choco really positioned it well, our coach at the time, said just enjoy the week. So it sort of took the pressure off. But yeah, the grand final parade in Melbourne with packed streets was surreal. And like I said, wake up that morning and we're like, oh, hang on, this is actually real. Like, what do we do here? And we just rolled along, had great leaders in our team and a few guys that had been there before. And we basically just followed their lead, to be honest.
Yep. And you talk about leadership, 4 years as captain. Talk us through that when you got told you were going to be leading one of the sort of most historic clubs in the land. What an honour that must have been.
Yeah, it was. Another pinch yourself sort of moment. Obviously, I guess what adds to it is the history of Port Adelaide, like you say. You know, wearing the number 1 jumper, you get bestowed with that, and you look at the people before you, and you just feel this massive sense of responsibility to give the club everything, try and be the best teammate, be a selfless leader, which is what everyone's done before you. So, and then it was just a balance of, I probably struggled with it early. Probably felt like I probably didn't deserve the role at the time. Obviously, there was a bit of talk around Sean Burgoyne and Chad Corns being the leaders.
Yep.
So I was probably the bit of the underdog. But once again, surrounded by amazing people, I reckon Dean Brogan, who was vice captain at the time, I think he sensed that I felt like I was a little bit overwhelmed by it. So I just remember him coming over and looking me in the eye and going, mate, you're the man now. Like, wake up. It's your show. We'll back you. So, you know, when you've got good people around you like that pick you up when they're sensing things, you know, it takes a lot of people.
Yeah, awesome. And during your playing career, you were doing study to set yourself up outside of football. What were you studying?
I studied a bit of I studied marketing, and then I realised I'm not creative enough for that. So then one of our player sponsors at the time had a finance broking firm, and I just found it a bit interesting I was always interested in finance and property. Got to know the ins and outs of it a little bit more, and sort of realised it's more relationship based. You know, the fundamentals of finance you need to learn, but it's a big relationship game, which I love. And so just started studying finance, and one thing sort of led to another. But I was just, I got picked 50 in the draft from Perth, 2-year contract. So like from day one, I thought my career was over, basically. So I always wrote in my diary, the day will come every year. And that held me in good stead because the day does come. Yeah. Where it all ends.
12 years, was it in the end?
Yeah, it's about 12, 14 or 14, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to go home?
when I first got drafted, I was like, I'll come here for 2 years and go home. But I got swept up in the Port Adelaide feel of the club. The club were just amazing to me from day one. Amazing support. Winning the premiership at 21 binds you to the club as well. And then it was we won the flag in 04. 2006, I think I was sort of considered it a little bit. But I was already in a bit of a leadership role there. And then before you know it, I was captain a few years later. So I wouldn't change one thing to play at one club. Something that is a badge of honour I wear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's becoming less common in today's playing landscape. Funding Options, which you're the managing director of, when did that business launch? Yeah,
so we launched it in 2012. I finished playing footy in 2014, so a few years before I finished. Interesting story. So Anthony Toop was on our board of Port Adelaide for many years, and myself and a few of the boys, Kari, Chad and Brogues used to go to Toopy's property end of every year, and it was like a boys' playground, guns and jet skis and motorbikes, and we started building a relationship with him, and I sort of saw him as a bit of a mentor at the time. Anyway, so I was doing a bit of finance here and there, and I went to Toopy and I said, mate, have you ever thought of having a finance arm of Toop and Toop? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. He goes, just got to find the right person. And I said, well, is it something that you want to do together? So one thing led to another. It then got to the stage where we're like, we need to come up with a business name. And he's like, he goes, I've already got it. And I said, what? And what is it? And he goes, Funding Options. He goes, I've been registering that business name since 1985, waiting for the right day. And
he was a pioneer, wasn't he?
He was a pioneer, and obviously, deeply missed. But just that's a Toopy thing. And we jumped straight in. I obviously was trying to balance a bit of both, but it gave me a segue out of footy. If I didn't want to stay in football, which when the time came, I was more than keen to jump into the business with no experience. Yep.
A lot of elite athletes, the transition early from let's call it the AFL environment into the real world, a lot of players struggled with that.
Yeah.
You obviously found that transition seamless and one you were sort of looking forward to. Give us a little bit of an insight of how you found, were you a little bit surprised? Did anything catch you by surprise when you sort of stepped outside of the AFL bubble?
Look, I probably underestimated how long and how much hard work you need to put into getting a business off the ground at the time. But I think football just prepared me so well for it. I remember, I remember playing my last game at Adelaide Oval. It was a pretty full stadium against Melbourne send-off game. And then a week later, I'm sitting in office on my own with the names and phone numbers of all the people that went through Toop and Toop Opens, calling them, trying to see if they need finance.
Baptism of fire.
And getting crickets. So you're like, who? What? But what I lent on, it was interesting. So, when I first got drafted to Port Adelaide, 18, came to a state I'd never been to before, didn't know anyone here, but I got given an opportunity. It was funny, at 32 years old, I felt like I was going back to being 18 again. And I just leant back on what I did then, which was work hard, be good to people. There's no substitute for hard work. And be good to people and try and learn as much as I can. And that was really what I did. And I just transitioned to that. And I didn't really have too much time to think about it because I had 3 young kids at home, no income now. So it gets you out of bed and hustle.
It's crazy. I call it the Miyagi effect. You get so many transferable skills in that environment without actually realising the leadership, the time management, the two-way open and honest conversations, all of these things that you don't realise you're learning that set you up for life outside of footy until you actually get into this situation. And then you look around at your new colleagues going, okay, I've got a bit of an advantage here. And it should set the good ones up for long-term success. Yeah,
you're right. And you'd get it because you had a long career too at a high level. But I reckon the other thing too, which on top of all the things you mentioned, was to survive in that sport at that level, you've always got to try and go, well, what do I need to do better to survive? Because players get quicker, faster, game changes. That constant reassessment of where you're at and what you need to do to be better, I reckon is one of the biggest things that I think has helped post-footy as well that I learnt in that environment.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And you got to adapt or die.
Yeah, that's right. And
and evolve.
There's always change, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
in any industry. So I think that sort of helps on the resilient front too.
Yeah. So you're in the finance world now. There's a lot going on in the finance world. We've just come off 3 interest rate rises. Now there's a bit of heat on the RBA to have a rate cut next week. What are you seeing? What are you hearing from customers? What's your take on the overall landscape at the moment?
Well, look, I think fairly. It's a bit too speed, to be honest. So, a big part of our business is residential lending, mums and dads, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other bit of it is a lot of commercial and development funding. So we're dealing with builders and developers a lot. You can see the caution in the mum and dad side of things because of all the change, recent rates. So Iran, that blows up. Then obviously the budget gets announced, rates have gone up, media having a field day, so sentiment's there. Then I've got my builders and developers that are just like buying up still, buying land, because they look at I look at it too, and we spoke about off air, but the fundamentals of the market here in Adelaide, it gets lost amongst this chaos.
Yep.
But, you mentioned that all of a sudden there's an announcement that rates might come down. And then all of a sudden people talk about the fundamentals, but the fundamentals weren't lost. They're still there. They're still under supply. There's still, we see a lot of people still moving from interstate to Adelaide, and they've got to live somewhere because they're coming here earning good money.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a bit of empathy we've got to have for some people, obviously, but also encourage people to sort of understand a little bit that we're in a moment in time, but what are the fundamentals under it all?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. With interest rate rises, it obviously impacts people's borrowing capacities and things of that nature. How do you sort of make sure that people aren't over leveraged when we have 3 interest rate rises in a row, for example, so there's not that financial duress and things of that nature?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that's, I guess, always held the Australian property market in good stead is the robust lending policies, with APRA guidelines like the 3% buffer on top of the rate to assess your borrowing capacity, the minimum living expense threshold each month, that goes up because inflation goes up. So our system is hard to borrow and it's frustrating at times for people, but it also protects our property market. So you're right, when rates go up, our borrowing capacity comes down. When the banks pull negative gearing out of the calculator, our borrowing capacity comes down. So what we are finding though is as a broking firm, like we have 40 lenders now, with the at least 40. Like the amount of lenders out there is huge, and we're probably using the biggest cross section of lenders than what we've ever used.
Okay,
because every bank has a different policy.
Yep.
Yes, the major banks are there, but we're doing a lot of lending for like with other lenders that are second tier. Doesn't mean their rates are higher. It just means their policy allows the client to achieve their outcome.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, people still want to try and achieve their goals. So they're not loyal to the bank. They're like, I have equity in my house. I bought my house 5 years ago. It's gone up 40%. I want to leverage that equity to go buy an investment property. How can I do it? And we're not going to go, oh, well, the 4 majors have said, no, you can't do it. We're like, hey, look, it's not quite fitting here, but over here it does.
Yep.
And then they've gone, oh, okay, let us know more about that bank. And so there's a bit of an education piece there.
Yep. Okay. There's a fair bit of support out there for first home buyers at the moment, trying to get into what's a pretty challenging market. Is there one piece of advice you could give someone who's trying to get out of home or in their rental situation to crack into the market?
Yeah, look, I think you just got to try and find ways to get into the market. Everyone might have an intention to buy an owner occupied, right? With single income's hard. So, does it mean live at home longer and put it as an investment property for a period of time? Does it mean buying a property with a sibling? All those things, I just think you got to be prepared to sacrifice a little bit to get into the property market. Yeah.
So get creative.
You got to get creative, I think. And you might just have to, unfortunately, you're going to have to play a bit of a long game.
Yep.
Yeah. And yes, you might want to move out of home, get away from the parents, but that might be at the cost of never getting in the property market.
Yeah. It's probably more important to get into the market at this point in time. And I think people have the idea they need to buy a house. I think get creative and still look in a desirable suburb, but it might be a unit on a bit of space.
Yeah. Well, and mate, like, the thing is, I think historically, a real estate agent told me this, so I'll take it as true.
Oh yeah, they always tell the truth.
So, but when the residential dwelling market peaks and the unit market sort of follows suit 3 or 4 years later. So, I've seen unit prices, that gap between houses and units was huge, and you're seeing units sort of, they're getting more and more expensive in the good areas. But what a great way to get in. You get a good asset in a good area that's going to get great rent. Yep,
absolutely. It's a good blend of and a balance of the two.
Yeah.
We're probably, 4 weeks post budget night. The dust has settled a little bit. What was your personal reaction? Like, were you surprised? Like, I wasn't surprised at the changes personally. How did you see it?
Well, look, nothing surprises me anymore with this sort of stuff. There's a few elements to it from my perspective. One is, they spoke about these changes. A lot of it's around to help younger people become property owners, right? So, and then they take away negative gearing. But if you buy a brand new property, you've still got the benefits, right?
Yep.
So then I go, well, okay, first home buyers want to buy something brand new to get stamp duty exemption and a first home owner's grant. But hang on a minute. Now they're competing to buy that property against investors. Now, the investors I know are prepared to pay a little bit more because they get the benefits out of it. So I'm like, I don't know if that theory is working. Plus, with our developer clients, we see how long it is from when dirt gets turned or they acquire a site, to when a title's ready.
Yep.
So there's no quick fix of supply of brand new houses. So we've got bugger all new houses and we've got more people fighting for it. Those prices are going to go up. So I don't know how the theory of getting younger people into properties quicker, how this situation is going to help. Yep. Then I go to the other bit of it, which is the frustrating part, is that, and I think a lot of people are the same, you just get a little bit sick of politicians coming out and going, as part of their campaign, we will not do this and we will not do that. And then they get trusted with our vote. They get in and they do everything they said they didn't. Now, in the real world, if I do that, my business is gone. Right? Crucified. If you do that, your business is gone. So your integrity is gone. You're doing stuff you're saying you're not going to do. The people that lead our country get away with it. So I don't know, mate, it's frustrating. And then, there's a flow-on effect, but I won't get too deep in it, but it's just frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sentiment is frustrating. And I think we just need a little bit of leadership on the in the opposition to come up. They'll have a bit of a Stephen Bradbury moment if they can get their act together and win the next campaign. But it's going to be an interesting period. For me, it was a bit of a lipstick on a pig. The whole messaging of we're trying to support first home buyers was just a distraction from putting taxes on taxes, basically, because that's their one wood and there's no real sort of strategic thinking out of how do we genuinely get out of this scenario that we're in rather than continually putting Band-Aids on it. Ultimately, I think, it's going to impact first home buyers even more. One, from what you've said, where they've now got more competition fighting for those new homes. And the current situation they might be in being rents, that guess what happens with the landlords?
True.
The rents are going to go up.
Correct.
So I think they've been impacted more than anyone.
Yeah.
They're not the winners. I think the real winners are going to be really slick financial planners, mortgage brokers, solicitors, the ones who can, once we get the detail, figure out where the gaps and the loopholes are. Like commercial property hasn't been untouched, for example. So you start getting creative in your portfolio. But I think they're going to probably ultimately be the real winners because the wealthy investors will want to go to the right team that they form and say, let's come up with the best game plan and find a way forward. And then who knows what happens in 1, 5, 10 years' time with government leadership and policy. So, it's a bit of an interesting one.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So watch this space. So inflation and rates still quite high. What is it Middle East that's sort of keeping it up, or what's the main driver?
I think it is pretty much that. That's we saw straight away with the issue in Iran, the cost of petrol is through the roof, which has a flow-on effect to everything, food, everything is transported. So, so I think that really gave it a good boost. It was already creeping up. That just gave it the perfect boost to really drive inflation even higher. So obviously the RBA now trying to do the juggling act of increasing rates to slow it down without, I guess, killing the economy at the same time.
Do you think we'll see an interest rate cut next week or a hold?
God, it would be. I think it'd be. I think it'd be a hold, because I think you just need to see a bit of a bigger sample size, to see where it's at. I mean, yeah, and this is going to create more volatility. We've gone up, increase, down for one, and then I think it's probably just worth holding, and then see the lay of the land. But stranger things happen. And
if we see rates continually rise, what happens to the property market, to your clients? Where do you see it going from there?
Oh, look, it has an impact because, borrowing capacity just gets more and more affected. So it just means people aren't going to be able to buy multiple investments. We're already seeing now, like for someone might have their own occupied house with a relatively low amount of debt, have one investment property which they've pretty much geared against. Even if they've got enough equity for the second and third, it's almost, unless their income's enormous, it's hard to get that second, third. And rates going up is just going to eliminate that.
Yep.
Even first home buyers, as rates go up, single income, to borrow $400,000 or $500,000, what are you going to have to earn? $160,000 a year. Like, how many people are doing that? And, that are young. So it's going to it will have an impact. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
A couple of rapid fire questions to throw at you before we close it out. Toughest AFL opponent?
Gabriel Jr.
Hall of Fame inductee during the week.
Yeah, reminder of how hard he was during the week.
Were you on the highlight reel underneath him?
No, there's a reason why I'm sitting on the couch watching it while he's at the event.
He was an absolute weapon.
Yeah.
Favourite Adelaide suburb or suburbs?
Oh, I'm a big fan of the West. Tennyson, Grange, those sort of areas.
What's your most underrated suburb?
Well, my in-laws have a shack in Balgowan on the York Peninsula, and I think that's massively underrated.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe don't put that. We want to keep it quiet, so maybe just cut this bit out.
Yeah. Best advice you've ever received?
There's probably two bits of advice that I carry with me. One was from the late Anthony Toot, which was if it is to be, it's up to me. Mm-hmm. That was his massive thing. So I think there's massive value in that. And then my current business partner, who I really look up to, he's always said, the more you learn, the more you earn. And that's not going to uni and whatever. It's like just speaking to people that do different things. And we're lucky in our industry where we speak to so many smart people. Yep. And you just pick up bits of gold along the way and you apply it in certain ways.
Yep. Nice one. Last one. One property prediction or market prediction between now and June 30 next year.
Oh, I think Adelaide will still have about an 8% increase in the next 12 months.
Yep.
8 to 10%.
Simple supply and demand issue?
Yeah. And I've got it right. So one of my clients actually is very active in property. We do a similar thing at the end of every financial year and go, righto, what do we, and I've got it right the last few years. So I've got a good track record.
So we're on the money. Mate, love chatting as always. We could talk all day, but thanks very much for coming onto the show today.
Thanks, Robbie. Cheers, mate. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Adelaide Property Pod. If you've enjoyed this conversation, make sure you're following the show so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you next time.